Hi everybody, welcome back. Tony again with Shinsho Yoga, and this week I would like to do a little follow-up on a mat review, specifically on my LuLu Lemon mat here. So about 6 months ago, I did a mat review, 5 different mats: Gaiam, Five Below, Manduka, Jade, and LuLu Lemon. And at the time I hadn't been using this LuLu Lemon mat, but I decided to use it afterwards because I needed to keep this mat down here. This is my Jade Elite S for my videos. It was easier than constantly just bringing it up and down to record videos. I had the mat, let me use it. So I've been using it about 6 months, and I wanted to give you an update, tell you how it compares to the Jade, things I found that are really good on it, and some things that are a bit of a challenge. So let's go right into it. First thing first, for the LuLu Lemon, I had talked about in the prior video how it was very tacky and it had a good grip on it. And I can't argue what I said. In the 6 months that I have been using it, it does. It has excellent grip on it. It is a very tacky, sticky mat. I've had no problems with slippage on it at all. Not from sweating or anything like that. Contamination, another story, and I'll get to that. That's kind of the downside, is some challenges with some things that got on it that made it more difficult, but not with the construction of it and its tackiness as is when they make it. It's an extremely sticky mat. I have had, again, no issues with hand slippage, nothing from sweating. It's worked out exactly as I thought. One thing that I've come to find on it that was not something that I initially would have noticed, were these two mats, this Jade here, the Elite S, and this LuLu Lemon mat, have the same thickness on them, but this is a much denser material on this LuLu Lemon mat. This mat here, this stuff is the top, there's a top layer on it, which is, I guess, the kind of the porous layer for your grip, and then there's a soft underlayer here that's actually kind of stiff. And this will transmit pretty much anything that you're feeling on the floor to your body. Where this one has a much denser, spongier material. The top layer isn't as thick, but the bottom layer is much denser. And it provides a lot of cushioning, way more cushioning than I thought would have been available in a mat of this thickness. I mean, it's only about 4 millimeters or so, the same as this one. Really no different, maybe 5 millimeter at most, but it's not enough thickness-wise that I would have thought it would have had a difference. But the material that it's made from definitely is a difference. I generally have to use a blanket under my knees when I'm on the mat because my knees are kind of wonky. I get little knobby knees and they hurt. I rarely have to use it with this. And I also often will use compression braces on my knees that are padded, and depending on the floor I've been on with this one, I haven't had to use it. That doesn't mean that, if you have knee issues or things like that, that it'll be perfect for you. But again, comparing this Jade Elite S to this LuLu Lemon mat, again, this material on here is much denser and offers way more cushioning. So again, much softer on the knees. The other thing also is it has been pretty durable. I've got to say, it's a strong mat. It's a tough mat. Not that the Jade here isn't, right? But in the time that I've used it, it's taken some abuse because I've done a lot of teaching outside. Needless to say, with COVID, a majority of the studios over the summer, once they reopened, the only place we could teach was outside, and I had to do a lot of teaching outside. And this is the mat I used, and it has, wear-wise, withstood it very well. Very well. So, grippiness, traction, top-notch. Surprisingly cushiony, more than I thought it would have been. And the wear on it, heavy duty, right? So far, so good. Downside comes from that outside teaching. And the downside that I found on this is a very hard mat to keep clean. The construction difference between the Jade and the LuLu Lemon here, this Jade has somewhat of what you would maybe refer to as an open pore construction on the top. You can see that there's more of a grain to the top of this. This is tight closed cells. It looks solid, where this looks a little bit more like sandpaperish. This one doesn't. It just looks smooth. But again, it's very grippy. The problem that I found with that is dirt builds up on it kind of like static. Where this is easier to clean off by scrubbing it off, this is not. Again, majority of the teaching I've been doing was outside. Moved into some studios recently, and one of the studios I teach at, they had a lot going on there, a lot of different activities trying to bring money in, and some of them didn't keep the studio as clean as they should, and it really added to the challenge of keeping this mat clean. When I was teaching outside, I would put this down on top of a blanket, right, to keep it from getting too filthy, at least on the underside, but you can only stop so much. You're outside, you're teaching outside. And this mat over time started to get a lot of dirt on it that was hard to get off. I mentioned in another video of mine about not using mat cleaners because I don't think they work well. Well, you know, I didn't follow my own advice. One of the studios I taught at had mat cleaner, and you know, I think they got it from Amazon. It's just in a jar with wipes, nothing harsh in it. I checked to make sure it was nothing harsh because again, that can ruin the sticky surface. And due to COVID and all that and being concerned, I always made sure I was wiping the mat down at the end. And all it did was leave a dirty residue. That's all it did. And with the dirty residue, like a film across the top of this mat, it started affecting the traction. So, keeping it clean has been hard. One of the things that I also did just the other day, I brought it inside. Just my old school way of cleaning the mat. I throw it in a bathtub with warm water and a little dish soap, and I just scrub it off. That has helped this surface a lot. I had to give it a couple scrubs because again, it's more of a static surface, for lack of a better term, than the Jade. But it took a couple washes to get it clean. And drying it, because this is so thick, dense it is, it's taken a long time to dry. This is still damp, and I did this a couple days ago. The other side of it, and I don't know if you can see it in the video, you can see all this white on this side. This came out from the underside after washing it. I believe it's salt, because a lot of times I was teaching down by the beach. I believe it's salt from the ground. I mean, I had the blanket underneath, but a lot of times the ground was wet and it comes up. I've washed it twice. I haven't been able to get it out. And each time I've washed this, you should see the amount of dirt that comes out of it. So this has been a troublesome mat to keep clean. This is a little bit easier to keep clean. The open pores of it don't seem to hold the dirt as much, and when you go to wash it with a brush and some, you know, again in the tub, and you just scrub it out, it pretty much comes right out and would come clean. So this, for outside, works a little bit better in keeping clean. But again, I overall still think, even with the challenge of keeping this mat clean, it's still the superior mat, in my opinion. Again, my first Jade Elite S, again, is a $150 mat. I had to have them replace it. The ends wore out. I've stored this properly, like I've talked about in other videos, in an enclosed bag, so it's not exposed to the sunlight. But working outside with it, again, it has taken the abuse. It hasn't worn out anywhere. It's just been hard to keep clean. And the dirtier it got, the more the traction on it suffered. So, what is my opinion on it? If you're not going to be outside with it, if you're not going to have a challenge to keep it clean, you're going to a studio that does a real good job on keeping the place clean, it's not a dirty floor and things like that, or you're not taking it outside, I think this LuLu Lemon is the superior mat for its grippiness, its thickness, its wearability. If you are going to be outside doing things and you're looking for a mat that's going to be more favorable for not so perfect conditions, go with the Jade, in my opinion. I wouldn't say, again, this Elite S mat. This is very expensive. The Jade Harmony mat is the less expensive mat, and that one works to me just as well as this Elite S did. Again, as I had said in the other video, I wouldn't have bought this one if I didn't get a discount from Yoga Alliance for being a member, because it's just, it's very costly, and I didn't think it was that much better than the Harmony mat. So, really good mat. Been great all around. Just a challenge to keep it clean. Still don't recommend any mat cleaners, right? Again, they just leave a residue. They just smeared the dirt around, made it hard to get off. That's where you'll run into the challenge. But again, really grippy and a denseness in this material that offers a lot of cushioning. So, that's it. Just wanted to give you a 6 months follow-up on that video, and hopefully that serves you. Any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Be happy to answer. Thanks again for watching. Namaste.